everyone. I got got noise coming on your side there. There we go. Welcome to everybody here tonight. Clobberin Times issue number 107 on YouTube, but 807 of all. So I want to thank you all for being here tonight. A few quick show notes and things before we get started. A big shout out and thank you, as always, to my wonderful first officer, the fantastic, the beautiful, the magnificent Raquel Briggs, who, and again to everyone who was here Saturday night for the Big Trek show. It was spectacular. I just had so much fun hanging out with all of you. Absolutely just amazing, and just appreciate you all so much. Thanks so much. I love our interactive group that we have with us on Saturday nights. Had just a blast. Let's see, Wednesday night of more open geek foolishness here at Clobberin Time, and then our Thursday Global Geek Gang. And thanks to Ash for reminding me of this. We do the Global Geek Gang on 1 p.m. Central Standard Time on Thursdays, and so we can have the International Gang of Geeks hanging out. And we are going to talk. Well, we do a lot of different things. We do a little show with Dell, which is all kind of fun stuff. But we're going to be talking about the history of Green Lantern. We're going to cover, last year he hit the 80 mark, of course. So we're going to be talking about a lot of Green Lantern. And then, just here, maybe give a brief bit of the history of the characters, the character. So that's that, of course. And then Saturday night, it'll be back to the great Star Trek review show that we have. Before we get started, I want to, our good buddy, my new buddy here, Phantom Outsider. And Phantom Outsider, I want to address what you said earlier in the chat because I appreciate it. But first, before I do that, I want to welcome all my friends who have arrived so far. The wonderful, beautiful Purple Valkyrie. Hail, Purple Valkyrie. She is absolutely wonderful, a wonderful friend of the channel and of our great channel, Rise of the Valkyries. There is a link in my description below, not only to her channel, but many other great channels of great friends here on YouTube that I would hope you all will check out and subscribe to their channels and support them. Love you, Purple. Thank you for being here. The great Chris Peja and Eric K, the two greatest wrenches on all over the place. Great to see you, my friends. Thank you for being here. Always appreciate you guys. You're good buddies to this channel. I appreciate you. The great Lord Thoth. Avon lives. Long live the Legion, my friend. Hope we get to talk and hang out soon, buddy. Let's see here. We have my favorite name to say on YouTube, Dr. Hercule Mucky. Jesus is my King 68, an old bud of the show. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for being here, old buddy. Good to see you. Apollome's Minion, great to see you, my dear. I hope you're doing well. The great Mark D with a C. Hey, buddy. I appreciate you being here, my friend. Let me scroll back a little bit and get some of our other friends here so I don't miss anyone. Just Joe Jobber, what's up, brother? Good to see you, man. Always a pleasure, man. Thanks. Good to see you. An old friend from the old days. We love the Jobber, man. All right. Again, Phantom Outsider, who I'll address some of the things you wrote in a second, my friend. Canadian Spider-Man does whatever a Canadian Spider can. Hey, buddy. Always a pleasure and honor to have you here, sir. Thank you so much. PD Rich popped in for a minute. I don't know if you're still there, PD. I know you said you were on the run. You're just late over there, but PD, always a pleasure to see you, my friend. Thank you. We appreciate you. Let me see. I think we got at least everyone for the moment. I'm going to backtrack my chats here because my new pal, Phantom Outsider, and I hope you're still here, sir, wrote at around a couple hours ago, but he wrote them here in the chat, and I appreciate it. Because tonight's topic, look, I'm not sure how popular tonight's topic. You can see that not a lot of people are going to be interested in this. It's kind of in the weeds. It's kind of comic book history, minutia, and things like that. But it is important to me, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. What the hell? Because I love comic book history, and I love I love comics, the art form of comics, whether it's books or strips, so much that I'm celebrate it a little bit and do my own little silly personal Hall of Fame, Clobberin Times personal Hall of Fame. Now, again, I'm the only voter. But I do have one consultant that I trust, and he's here. Claude is here with me tonight for that. And the other one, of course, sadly is no longer with us. But we are going to. This show is now called Forevermore because it's a comics-related show. It's called Monday Night Mark C. I forgot to say that at the beginning. I got to get used to that. But he would be here if he could. Yeah, I know he would because he would enjoy this topic. So Phantom Outsider had said back a couple hours back, before you start, what's your criteria? Artists, writers, creators. Okay, my criteria is this, sir. A creator in the comic book field or the comic strip field, which is what this is focused on. You mentioned things about animation and things early, like Walt Disney and Chuck, and Walter Lantz and Chuck Jones, people like that, and Ted Avery and Bob Clampett, great people, but they're not in this genre. So just to let you know, and you mentioned some other greats like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and Edgar Rice Burroughs and, Philip Francis Nolan and all those people, and Jules Verne, great people, but this is the comic strip medium. Just that'll answer my questions for you there. As far as selections, you named a bunch of great names, and I'm with you on just all of them. There's only going to be 10 tonight. This is no other than maybe number one, because I am very biased, as you can see. Other than number one, it's not like a list. We're not listing them in any particular order. It was tough to pick out a pantheon of 10. It's no insult to anyone else in the field, because all the ones you've named, they're going to be in there, because I see that you know your stuff. So just letting you know that, Phantom Outsider. Tonight there will be 10. And it might not be a 10 that you would pick or a lot of people would pick, but I think I don't think you'll have a problem with any of the choices. Again, you might have picked the different 10 to go in first, and that's about it. But everyone, I think you if I read you right, you'll have a respect for anyone we're naming here tonight. Let me see if anyone else has popped in. I think you all know the story how this chat goes. It's difficult for me to see everybody and get everybody popping in. Pat S, hey buddy. All right, man, a fellow Louisianian. What's up, bro? Good to see you, man. And so, yeah, again, I wasn't, because I'm busy and doing different things. I didn't get a lot of pictures loaded. We're going to use the old-fashioned way, like we do on Saturday nights, for a lot of it with our Google chats to show some examples of the work of these fine gentlemen that we will be displaying tonight. And so, I will welcome now with us. By the way, happy birthday to the greatest starship captain of all time. That's why I'll leave my avatar with that. The great William Shatner, 90 years old. 90 years old today. My only son is also 32 years old today. But yes, the great Shat, folks. The man. So joining me tonight is Claude Parrish. And I won't put the bull behind your name.
Uh-huh. As far as you know, that's who I am.
Yeah, as far as anyone knows. What's up?
I just want to start off by telling people that I've known you for many, many years. Let's just leave it at that. And that some of my comic book tastes have been shaped by yours. And I don't know if I had any influence on you, but
and vice versa. Yeah,
we do agree on a lot of these things. But you can't really, if you want to keep this thing under 2 hours, you can't really broaden it out.
No, 10 at a time.
Yeah. Because we were talking about other stuff, and I was throwing in names like that probably wouldn't occur to people as far as the top 10 and what you're going for tonight. Absolutely.
Purple, thank you so much for that. I appreciate you. And did I what? Let's see. Did Claude pan that? Did I pan a birthday? As in, like, critically pan it? I don't know. Yes. Oh, that's true. That Claude's name on the old show used to be Minimus, actually. Instead of Matt Claudius.
Actually, Maximus. The whole name was Minimus Prime.
Yeah, Minimus Prime. Yeah, I mean, we're going to go back to that. He's Minimus now.
You go to hell.
I forgot that. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for the birthday wishes there. And
hang on. Let me see what I can do about this.
You can change that. Yeah, I forgot Minimus. I forgot all about that, man. Jobber remembers the old stuff from the old, man. He's our Jobber. You might have to be hired as our as the Clobberin Time official historian, brother. Yeah. It pays well, man. It doesn't pay at all. It pays compliments. That's what it does. Yeah. You
pays attention.
We'll compliment the hell out of you, brother.
Yeah, you're so sweet.
But yeah, Phantom Outsider, I love all the names we're on the same page. You know your stuff about comics history. That's for damn sure, man. Explorer of the Multiverse. How's it going there? And again, I do understand a lot of people aren't into all this the minutia, this kind of stuff, or the names, even if you like comics. So but let's figure what the hell. What's his face with Whatnot? Another name I like, a tongue twister. Good to see you, my friend. And we will definitely we'll get rolling here. Now, even though I'm gonna keep, I guess I'll just keep Shatner's, in Keith Shatner's picture there. I could have put because you got the great one there.
I got Kirby.
Yeah. We're both proud that we met him. Your picture came out way better than mine. Anyway,
you took that picture.
I took this picture of you.
Yep.
And Kirby, that's right.
You did.
Scott Young did.
Nope. He let us borrow his camera, which was low on battery, and all of our pictures came out dark. But this one survived.
Whoever took the picture of me and Kirby did not do the greatest of.
That was me.
Oh, I'm a better photographer than you.
Well, you win.
I'm Phantom Outsider. I could not have said that better. And to show what a comics history geek I am, my favorite things being produced today are by the great Tomorrow's company. Back Issue Magazine, never miss it. Got them all, got every issue. And I don't always get every issue, but I love Alter Ego. And of course, I have every issue of the Jack Kirby Collector. So, I get. Now, I'm going to give everyone one guess of who the number one's going to be. I bet none of you can guess who number one's going to be. And he's number one in the sense we're naming him first. He's, he is of royal status, we should say. So, I know you're just all shocked. I mean, you're going to be so shocked. Who our number one inductee into the Clobberin Times Mark C. Comic Strip Creators Hall of Fame. The shock. Look, I hope you're all sitting down.
Is there fanfare, or is it just like
no.
Fanfare costs too much?
No, we don't have a budget here.
Yeah.
All we got is the great Stone Loki making that opening for me. And by the way, I forgot to say thank you, Stone Loki, for that. A good buddy, Loki. I'm supposed to give him credit on that, and I always forget. Sorry, Loki, but you're the man. Appreciate that. So, yes, we have no budget here, folks. So I want you to contain your shock. When I say that, look, you're just going to probably drop. Eric K, don't be silly. Yeah, that's a good one, Eric K. Purple, don't be silly. You dang sillies. Yeah, I guess I should make some announcement. No, I'm not going to go into Stan Lee tonight. I have enough blood pressure issues as it is with Snyder crap going on. So, that's the last mention of Snyder tonight. Sorry.
Bruce Lee goes before Stan Lee.
Yeah, Bruce Lee before him. Yeah. And by the way, I will say this: there's one person. You know how? Hey, Project Storytime, good to see you. Yeah, Cecil will get in there one day. You know how Pete Rose isn't he still excluded from the Baseball Hall of Fame?
Pretty sure he is.
I think he is. Well, we have one of those, folks. I'm going to name before I name our first inductee, I'm going to say it up front. We have some bitch who, like Pete Rose, will never be allowed in the Clobberin Times Mark C. Comic Book Strip Hall of Fame, and that name is Bob Kane. Fuck him.
And why, pray tell, is that?
Because he's a charlatan and a thief and a sack of crap. And, he got his little glory in his life, and he lived his life. Oh, Alexander Vidakovic. I'm sorry if I butchered your name, my friend. Thank you for being here. Our great buddy Mark the Infinitely Tired. Good to see you, my friend. Oh, Lord Thoth knows his stuff because he's guessing some good ones there. So, Lord Thoth, that will happen. Your second one there will happen. I promise you that. One day. But the first one you named is there. Absolutely, Phantom Outsider. No Bob Kane. How do you know I forgot Jim Shooter? I didn't forget him, but he's not going to.
He's hard to forget.
Yeah, I don't know if he's ever going to be on here, but there's only 10 tonight, folks. We're going to start with number one right now. Again, I hope you're all sitting down because the shock is going to be so much that you may have to call an ambulance. I'm just saying. All right, number one. And again, some of these I'm about to go to just Google them up because I wasn't able to get some good pictures and then load them up because I ended up having to do something today. But number one, folks, Jakob Kurtzberg. I hate that picture, so I got the wrong picture there. Somebody this picture, they put the wrong stuff on this one. I don't know why. I picked it up. I loaded the wrong one by accident, so let's go with that one. Jack King Kirby, folks. I could almost just go enough said, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You don't have to say much. And if we would be here all night, if we talked about the accomplishments of the King of Comics, because he's called that for a reason. The schlub who named him that even though he may have, I know he was, I don't know if he thought he was being funny or whatever when a certain dude named him that and christened him that, but he is that.
Well, I think he nicknamed him Jack King Kirby, and then King of Comics came afterwards. I don't know if Stan Lee actually called him the King of Comics because that would have been taken away from himself. But he called him Jack King Kirby. It was undeniable.
Oh, he did, because he knew. Jack King Kirby, folks. And, you know, he didn't just draw comics.
He was comics.
He was comics. He revolutionized the art form 3 times throughout the course of 70-year career, of his 70 years of life, and a 40-something year career, just about something like that, I would say. Now, oh man, look, bad enough I got to get picked on by Eric K. Now you're doing it, Chris Persia. Damn, dude, I thought we were tight, bro. Now I'm getting picked on by both great wrenches, man. The abuse, man, the abuse. Freaking Eric K. Let's see here. Yeah, Larry Flint is your number. I totally forgot Larry Flint. Shit, man.
Well, he brought the Thunder Agents back.
He was dead by then, wasn't he? Well, he wasn't dead, but there was. I thought that was
Carbonaro. Carbonaro, yeah. Oh. Same difference.
Well, Jack not only single-handedly, he didn't just single-handedly save Marvel. He created it because they were really pretty much Atlas. You know, when he took over. But Jack Kirby, I don't really have to go too far into it, everyone. Creator of, along with Joe Simon in this case, of course, Captain America with Joe Simon. Let's see. And this is just a short list here. Challengers of the Unknown, Fighting American. Some group you've probably never heard of called the Fantastic Four. Yes, with a partner named Stan Lee.
Yeah, Challengers was like a tryout book for the Fantastic Four. A lot of people try to say it's not, but it is.
It is. He minded. I mean, he did mind his own creation a little bit with that, but you know, he kind of said, let's give him superpowers and that'll work. I mean,
yep.
And he did. And of course, Kirby, again, I talk about Kirby all the time. I've done whole shows on Kirby, you know, so he is my, yes. And again, there's a bias. Believe me, there's not a bias. All the biggest names that have ever worked in comics when comics actually meant something, when they were a thriving, important industry, there are very few of them that ever existed, if any, that I've ever heard of, that wouldn't tell you that Jack Kirby is the king of comics and would tell you, yeah, I mean, one of our other great inductees tonight is, and we're not going to say his name, but Claude knows who I'm talking about. When someone said, I've heard him say in person, I think we both heard him say that Jack Kirby is the greatest comic artist who ever lived.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, his name is Eli Katz, but we're gonna induct him under a different name, folks.
Actually, I can take credit for that because I was talking to a kid who came to Eli's table. And I mentioned his name, and I said people like him and Steve Ditko and Jack Kirby recreated comic books in the early 60s. And kid goes, who's Jack Kirby? And I started to say, Jack Kirby was one of the greatest comic book artists of all time. But when I got one out of my mouth, Eli, wink, wink, said, Jack Kirby is the greatest comic book artist of all time. Thank you, Eli.
Yes, and even if he's there, I've heard many people over the years say that they either never really liked this style but respect what he did, or they didn't like it at first when they were younger, then they came to appreciate it. I've never had that problem. I've always loved it, but I understand where you're coming from. It's just that and like the great Walt Simonson once said, he said he always liked it. And there's some of us who always loved it, but there's some who never really warmed up to it that much, but they respect, because they know the medium and they know the history, that they respect what he did. I love it. I love everything about his style. This man makes a page move. You can't look at a big, gigantic Kirby spread and that's static. And there's some great artists that it just looks like a picture. His looks like a moving picture, and he can do it in one panel. He could also definitely was a brilliant storyteller. And I saw a video by your boy Zach the other day that he did that was pretty interesting. I don't know if you know, he has Comics Matter. Richard C. Meyer did just a short video the other day just for the hell of it called Jack Kirby was the King of Composition. He took the opening splash page of Fantastic Four number 39, which was a classic story, and the blind men shall lead. And it was one where they had lost their powers. The opening splash is where the Navy are piling the unconscious bodies of the Fantastic Four onto their submarine, and he broke down that page to show what brilliant composition it was, and how busy the page was. Now it looks like it's moving. Jack Kirby can make every page move and look and blast off the page. And it can punch you in the face, and it was just power. That is why one of the many books ever written about him by Mark Evanier, I believe it was, or was it? It's called Kirby Power.
Yeah.
And there's how many artists do you know of, everyone, that has a magazine, quarterly magazine that's been going over for like 20 some odd years now, exclusively devoted to them, called the Jack Kirby Collector in this case. There are others. And there's been an article in there that they do from time to time, a regular article, a regular feature called Kirby as a Genre.
Yeah.
Name me another artist that is a genre. Name me another artist who's inspired many people in other films of artistic endeavor, such as, prose fiction, film, music, even, because there are tons of testimonials from a lot of fairly well-known people who would tell you, my creativity was inspired by reading Jack Kirby's comics.
And you have a couple of them who basically aped Kirby's style and made a decent living at it, like Rich Buckler, Ron Friends, maybe Milgram.
So many of them.
Eric Larson.
Milgram was a big fan, yeah. Yeah. I mean, so many of them ripped the style for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And I have no problem. I love Buckler with Sit on Ink and him ripping that style.
That was one of the prerequisites for working for Marvel. Somebody, I forget his name, but somebody said they went to they brought their stuff to Marvel and they had to talk to Jim Shooter, and Jim Shooter handed them a Kirby comic and says, "Draw like this." Okay, sure.
Purple. Hey, Brian Michael Bendis, unless I start a Hall of Shame shit list, will never be on any list of mine, Purple.
Brian Michael Bendis has basically took a big steaming dump over my favorite comic book character. And I'm not saying that anything's going to happen to him if we ever meet, but I will say that he will know that we have met. Not a threat. It's like an invitation to hear how little of a fan of his I am.
Alex James, good to see you, my friend. And before we get off of Kirby, I'll just say that the two of us here have had the good fortune to meet Jack Kirby and his wonderful wife, Roz, twice. For me, I don't know about him, but they're the two greatest geek experiences of my life, two of the greatest experiences of my life, period. We even bought some original art for them the first time we met him, and got to spend a lot of time with him the second time we met him, which is where, the picture that he has that you've seen was taken, and the ones you've seen of mine that was taken. And they were wonderful people. And, they say, don't meet your heroes. We've seen examples of that every now and then from a lot of people. It doesn't apply here.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Especially
apply.
Roz. You hear stories about how Roz was, the glue that held that thing together. And Roz even inked some of his work, to meet the deadlines. But everybody that ever was lucky enough to go to Kirby's house when they were kids and just watch him or help him, every one of them said you never left that place hungry, because Roz would always make a sandwich for you at the very least.
Absolutely. And Jack Kirby, for those who don't know, was a legitimate hero as well. He was a war hero in World War II. There is someone who mentioned it in the chat. And yes, and there is, I don't know if it's still on Amazon, but if you can find it, go find the documentary called Kirby at War.
Yeah.
It tells his war experiences and how his war experiences shaped his life and his art later. And it's fascinating. There are other Kirby, I think there are other Kirby documentaries. It is truly inspiring.
The best one, you might have seen it. I think I told you to buy this movie.
I've seen it.
FF Volume 2 or whatever they're calling it came with a 1-hour documentary, and I'm pretty sure that it's on YouTube now. And there's a lot of modern artists who came after him that talk about how great he was, and I think even Stan Lee chimes in a little bit. But
Yeah. This man right here, from that mind, from that creative mind, I heard there was a time at some point later in his life that they didn't even let him drive much or anything because he was so full of ideas that he wanted to do and create that it's just all he thought about. He was just extraordinary. He's a creator. He created and co-created and plotted so many stories. The concepts that he came up have produced billions upon billions of dollars for others, mostly, unfortunately, but we all know that sad story. So,
well, at least his name is kind of getting out there.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, and just recently, even though we're not going to talk about it on the SC, the JL movie.
Yeah.
There was an entire page on the screen. Nobody else's name was on there. Said Fourth World created by Jack Kirby. That was it. There was nobody above and nobody below. And it went by and they mentioned other people's names, but he had his own space on the screen for a few seconds at least.
Yep. Kirby is
not with Stan Lee, not with this person. Fourth World created by Jack Kirby.
Give me another example of the influence of Kirby. He not only started he basically, when he left the Bronze Age, an entire age of comics is marked by his departure from Marvel Comics and his arrival at DC Comics to go create the Fourth World and Jimmy Olsen and New Gods and those series. That, it speaks for itself. Again, the man, his movement from one job to another created an entire age, quote unquote, age of comics. So, and then of course in the mid 70s went back to Marvel, and he's got, let's see here, 2 things that were released this week on that were comic book related, as you all know what they are. All feature Kirby creations. And then the train wreck of a movie coming out this November called The Eternals is another Kirby creation. They pretty much have never released, whether it's a Marvel and in some cases a lot of DC movie, without Kirby having something to do with it, especially with the Marvel ones, but even with the DC ones. So anyway, Jack Kirby, the king of the Pantheon of 10 of inductees into the Clobberin Times Mark C. comic strip creator Hall of Fame. I know it's a long title.
And he was the great, not one of the greats, he was the great, but you thought he would have been treated better later in life, and he wasn't. He was, in fact, very disrespected, and it wasn't until after he died that people started talking about him and what a great creator he was, and nothing is coming out from Kirby anymore. You're not going to get any more Kirby comics or Kirby creations. DC did like a year-long celebration of Kirby, because they would always put Kirby's face up in the corner, a cartoon of it, and they did the Commandy Challenge, which is kind of lame, and I'm gonna save everybody a few bucks if you feel like going back and getting the trade paperback. The mastermind behind all of Commandy's troubles in this 12-part miniseries is Jack Kirby, and he appears in the final issue. Maybe that one's worth picking up. I don't know, but overall it was kind of a limp noodle.
Yeah. I gotta admit, I don't like Rob Liefeld's art, but he did help the Kirbys.
Yep. I'm
with you there, Project Storytime. And I met him. He was nice. He's a nice guy. Just his art, you can make fun of a bit. Alex James, you're a bit drunk, but that's okay. Maybe you'll be even more drunk by the time we get done.
Yeah. I freaked out Rob Liefeld at Wizard World one year. I was talking to our friend John Dell, and Liefeld was like 5 feet away from him on a table, and he was drawing stuff. He had a line. Wrapped around the back of the tables, and I said something like, "Hey, John, watch this." And I looked over and I went, "Oh my God, it's Rob Liefeld!" And he looked up at me like, "Bro, what the heck is wrong with this guy?"
Well, is everyone ready for number? Well, they're not numbered, but our next inductee, I should say, folks.
If you were going to say number 2, that would probably trigger me to get up and leave.
Yeah. we'll take a number 2. Number 1, I order you to take a number 2. All righty, folks. Well, the great Jack Kirby, everyone, the king of the pantheon of the. I'm gonna just it's a long. I don't care. It's a mouthful, but it's worth it. The Clobberin Times Mark C. Comic Book Strip Creator Hall of Fame.
Association Incorporated. Yes,
sir. Okay, so our next inductee, everyone, is the great Alex Raymond. Mark C. and I, a few months ago, again, we keep it, keep him in our thoughts here as always. A few months back, we did a show called basically Flash Gordon, 86 Years of Saving the Universe, because we both love Flash Gordon, the creation of the biggest, most important creation of this artist, this great comic strip artist. And so obviously we both loved Alex Raymond's work, and we talked about him quite a bit. He was a comic strip artist, of course. From things I've read, and Claude could talk a little bit about Alex Raymond in a bit here. Things I've read, a lot of at the time back in those days, the comic strip artists thought they were, they cut above the comic book artists who were slumming it. They thought they were better. They were highly paid for the relatively speaking, and the comic book artists were the little. They were nothing to them. They were the peons.
Look up a picture of any of these guys, or put their names together, and just look up Google Images. Every one of these guys dressed like he was either a bank manager or he was going to the bank for a loan. Every one of them, suit and tie.
And there's a good point. That is true. I didn't get to that, but Phantom Outsider, he not only, of course, created the great character Flash Gordon, but he had another comic strip character that was prevalent, played by Johnny Weissmuller in serials. That was Jungle Jim. That is exactly true. Yes, of course. Yep. So Alex Raymond, for those who are not familiar with his art, but you are familiar with his creation. If you've ever watched, I don't care if it's Sam J. Jones' film, the Filmation Flash Gordon, his strips, like a lot of Saturday or like a lot of comic strips, they were like a bunch of pictures rolled together. They were not. Do you think they were really sequential art as much as they were just a bunch of static pictures?
They were, because it progressed, and when you say sequential art, it was in sequence.
It was.
And like you said about Kirby, there's so many books written about Kirby after he died. And there's this one book that I can recommend called Alex Raymond, His Life and Art by Tom Roberts. Has a foreword by George Lucas and an introduction by James Bama.
The great James Bama. Wow, I don't know.
So what was it, Gold Key or Charlton used to reprint the Alex Raymond Flash Gordon comics?
I think it was Gold Key.
They would put him in a comic book form. So he's overqualified.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm echoing all of a sudden. Is anyone hearing that echo? Hope not. I hope it's not the only one.
You're in a cavern in a canyon excavating for mine. And like Kirby, he inspired so many artists and cartoonists to get into the business.
Yep. He was let's see. Hey man, you're not supposed to spoiler it, Eric. We were gonna leave Daniel Kibblesmith as a surprise, man.
Oh man, he blew it.
Damn it. Kibbles and Bits was gonna be on there for sure. Now I'm taking him off. Ain't like that. But Alex Raymond, and again, just a great one. I just love his stuff. I have a couple of those hardcover reprints of Flash Gordon stuff, the End of the World, the Water World of Mongo, and a couple of the other ones that they did. Remember, those things were huge. They were like $6 in the 70s.
Yeah.
They'd be like $100 books now or whatever. Love his stuff. Yes, of course, someone mentioned Rip Kirby. You're right. What is it? Secret Agent X?
Secret Agent X9.
X9 was another one.
Yeah. And how about this bit of poetry? He's also responsible for, on this fat belly I do declare, Ming is a punk beyond compare.
That's right. Yeah. But Alex Raymond was fantastic, and of course you could tell a little bit about he unfortunately passed away in a car accident. Wasn't it Stan Drake's car?
Yeah.
His Corvette or Corvair, whatever it was.
It was a little sports car. I mean, I don't know what it was, but it was a hideous looking little thing, and apparently he just liked driving it fast, and it did him in.
Yeah, Phantom Outsider, there's absolutely no denying that John Carter was the inspiration not only for Flash Gordon, but, well, many, many other things. And even John Carter itself was taken from Gulliver of Mars. So, yeah, what are you going to do? Love John Carter, though. So, Alex Raymond is there. And, again, love his work. And the great Mark C. was a big fan as well. And so, let's see, are we ready for our next one, ladies and gerbils? Are you ready for the next participant? I guess you are. Let me find him. Let me find him. Okay. Our next entrant, sir, is, hang on a second, is, of course, Mr. Steve Ditko. One
of the more interesting comic book artists and creators.
He was that, wasn't he? He was
not a lot, really. There's not a lot people know about him.
No, because he didn't tell people much about him. We know what he did with his creations. I mean, he not only created, of course, these two fine gents for Marvel that, yes, along with Stan Lee, and even Kirby had a little bit to do with Spider-Man's creation, but Doctor Strange is almost all in his baby. You know, if you read a lot of the stuff that Stan Lee said back then in the great book called Stuff Said by John Morrow, Stan Lee didn't even like Doctor Strange. He was annoyed with Doctor Strange. He didn't want to do any more, but fans insisted. They loved him. So, you know, Stan, I don't know if he had a whole lot of input, God bless him, in Doctor Strange. I don't know. Yeah, I tend to think most of that heavy lifting there was Ditko, but that's just me. He didn't really like or understand the popularity of the character. Didn't really care for him that much from things he said back then. You could read, but that's neither here nor there. This is all about Ditko here. So Steve Ditko was just, and look, a lot like some of Kirby's older art. A lot of people aren't that big of a fan of some of his stuff. I love especially his 60s stuff in particular, but man, it's his creations. And I love, for example, I'm trying to find, I had a picture of a few of his creations here, and I don't know what happened to him. But here's one that I really love, of course. When he left Marvel, didn't he go over to Tower to work on the Thunder Agents and stuff?
Yeah, that was around the same time period, but I always thought that they kind of crossed over each other. Yeah, absolutely, they did. But he also later went to Charlton Comics. I say Charlton, and then people tell me I'm supposed to say Carlton. It's Charlton, I guess. It's Charlton.
He created the Question, Captain Atom. Later, he created his own character, pretty much like the Question, called Mr. A. He bounced around. He actually ended up back at Marvel in the late 70s and the early 80s for a bit. Oddly enough, he even created Squirrel Girl. But Ditko was a different kind of a cat. He just didn't socialize. He felt he was so screwed over by Stan Lee and Martin Goodman in Marvel. He wanted to defect, and he wanted Kirby to go with him. Kirby didn't. But he ran off on his own, and then later in life, he didn't even want anything from Spider-Man. He wanted nothing to do with it. He didn't even want to fight for him or anything. He just didn't care. He was a different kind of cat now. There's no question about it. But he was a great creator and a great artist, and he belongs in the Pantheon. I think most people, it's just so many. Let's see, here we go. So with Phantom Outsider says, there was a story that someone went in to interview Ditko, and he had a pile of pages in his apartment. They were, what's that? And he's like, oh, Doctor Strange annuals. And he was still drawing Doctor Strange. Wow, still drawing him. He still loved Doctor Strange, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When Ditko passed a couple of years ago, Super HDJ, how's it going? Good to see you. Thank you. When Ditko passed a couple of years ago, a buddy of mine sent me a video, and a few years before Ditko has passed, he'd sent me a text message of a front door, and it said it had Ditko's name on it. And I said, "Are you kidding me?" And no, he had been at Ditko's door. he knocked on it, tried to get in up at his studio in New York. And I was like, dude, what happened? He wouldn't, and he didn't say much, that he wouldn't let us in. He shut the door on us. Well, after he passed, he figured since he's gone, what's the big deal? So he sent me now he didn't send me, actually, I think he went to Facebook and he posted a short video of where Ditko actually came to the door. He opened the door up and he saw there were geeks with with their camera phone on them, and he waved them off in a basic sort of like, "Go get out of here."
Yeah.
That's
not the first time that's happened either.
No.
Because Jonathan Ross, kind of famous British, what they call him a presenter over there. He's a talk show host. He got so curious about whatever became of Steve Ditko, he got his company, I guess BBC or ITV or somebody, paid for him to come over here and interview everybody he could about Steve Ditko. And then he finally found his office and he called him. And he had Neil Gaiman with him at the time because he thought Neil Gaiman's got a little extra oomph that'll get me through the door. So he called and he said, can we come up and meet you, shake you by the hand and tell you thank you for all the wonderful work. And he goes, okay, not even just to say hi. Okay. And he hung up. He goes, basically, he told me to fuck off.
Yep.
But he did go up. He did go up.
Gaiman got him in there, though.
Yeah. And that thing is probably still on YouTube.
Yes, it's called, by the way, if you can find a documentary called In Search of Steve Ditko, it's fascinating, folks.
Very, very good. Even got Stan Lee cornered because his lawyer got stuck in traffic. And he looked very nervous because Jonathan Ross got him to admit that Steve Ditko was the co-creator of Spider-Man. He said he'd feel comfortable saying that Steve Ditko was Spider-Man's co-creator. And he'd kind of said it before, but he said it in such a way that it was disrespectful to Steve Ditko, and Ditko really didn't like it. He didn't like Stan Lee at all. So that should tell you something right there. I mean, Ditko, yeah, he wasn't really an asshole. He was the kind of guy, he was very private, and he had a specific set of beliefs. And I guess if you were a contemporary of his, you could talk to him on that level. But he wasn't just going to open his door for anybody.
No. And I would love to have met him. He didn't do cons or anything like that. In my opinion, this right here, of course, he did all kind of brilliant work. This is one of my favorite sequences in comics of all time. This is probably his defining moment in comics for me. I don't know about you. He had his very set ideas about what Spider-Man should be. This page right here, it's iconic, and they even did an homage to it. I didn't like Spider-Man Homecoming very much. I don't like Iron Spider-Boy very much, personally. I like some of the MCU stuff. But they did a scene that was kind of an homage to this, where he has a whole building on top of him. And good God, this is just some of the most. If you pick your favorite comic book images of all time, this would easily make my top 10. I don't know about you with Ditko. I mean, there's so much great Ditko stuff, but God, I don't know what it is about this one.
I first was aware of Ditko much later with Captain Atom at Charlton. What was the thing called? Outer Space Adventures. And I thought the way he drew Captain Atom's costume looked like he took a whole lot of time on it, because it was basically, Captain Atom is the precursor for Dr. Manhattan.
Yep.
But he could still stay in human form, and he wasn't like out of his mind. But his costume was just like, it was little dots all over his costume that looked like maybe Ditko had a template somewhere that he did this, but he did it perfect every time. Captain Atom always had sparkles around him, not like the vampire from whatever, Twilight or whatever. But he was a seriously weird looking, for the time, superhero, and he was kind of like Dr. Manhattan. He's kind of like Marvel. He was just was that his total creation?
What?
Captain Atom, was that a total
Ditko
creation?
I think it was. Yeah, he usually did. I mean, he was allowed to go to Charlton and write and draw his own stuff. But I could be wrong. It could have been somebody involved in that one. But I think at that point he wanted to do his own stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I agree, Alex James. I just love this. And again, later he created a character called Mr. A, which was him taking the question where he wanted to take him.
And
like when the question said they accumulated filth and all their sex.
There's
Rorschach time. There you go.
There's only about 3 pictures of Ditko, but somebody recently posted pictures of him on Facebook, and it was like him around the house, not the comic book artist, just like Uncle Steve, the guy called him. So,
yep, yeah. Well, there you go. You pulling some Rorschach on me there, Pat S. I like it, man. And yes, Rorschach was kind of, as you all know, the Watchmen by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons. He wanted to use the Charlton characters. DC had recently acquired them. Dick Giordano was fond of them, I think, as was a couple of other people there, and Paul Levitz and others. And they ixnayed it and said, create your own, and you can base them on that or whatever, which I think worked out better. Absolutely better than making more, just make up his own, that's for sure. Maddie's Daddy, what's up, bro? Well, we're only on our 3rd one here, Maddie's Daddy. We did first, a shocker to you, of course, was Jack Kirby. And then, we're not doing it in any order other than Kirby being the top of the king. And then, of course, we had Alex Raymond, creator of Flash Gordon and such. And we're just finishing up with the great Steve Ditko. Our next inductee, folks, is someone that, again, Claude and I have been lucky enough to meet a couple of times that we're just huge fans of. And he is, his real name is Eli Katz. But you all, if you're comic book fans at all, you would all know him as, say it, I'll let you say it, Claude.
Gil Sugarlips Kane.
The great Gil Kane, my friends. I look.
And I didn't call him Sugar Lips.
No, that was Stan Lee. Stan Lee called him Sugar Lips. Like Kirby, like Ditko, like any of these greats, really, it's tough to find representative pieces of their work to load. So you just kind of put a few little images here and there because there's so much great stuff. You'd leave it, you're sliding some great piece of work.
He did everything.
He did it all.
He worked for a lot of companies too. He was well known at Marvel and DC, and the stuff he did at Marvel was as well known as anything he did at DC. Mostly known for Atom and Green Lantern at DC. He did a pretty decent run of Conan for Marvel. And Captain America and Tales to Astonish. He did some Hulk, not a whole lot of it. Trying to think.
Yeah, no relation to Bob.
No.
No, he's Eli Katz is his real name. I know he's kidding. He's kidding. What'd you say now?
Yes, Maddie's Daddy. That is Claude Parrish.
Hey, I never. Now I'm gonna. Now I know a new name to call you. Good.
Shut up. He can call me that because he can whip my ass over the phone on the internet. He can think about my ass being whipped, and I wake up in the morning going. If I woke up, I would wake up going, "Man, I'm so sore. It's like I got my ass whipped long distance last night."
Yeah, a lot of people when they think. Long-term great Spider-Man artists. They think Ditko. They think Romita Sr.
Yeah.
They think Ross Andrew, who we do love. But Gil Kane had a great run on Spider-Man. I love it. I mean, he's one of the definitive Spider-Man artists for me.
Yeah.
He did so many covers. Dude, nothing like a Gil Kane cover, man, of the Bronze Age especially.
He did tons of them. And I see it on here, the IDW Spider-Man Artist Edition by Gil Kane. He also did that thing with Kirby, the Prisoner.
That's right, he did.
Only recently got printed, finally.
We'd be remiss if we didn't mention his great Green Lantern work. My God, Gil Kane, of course, co-created the Hal Jordan Green Lantern, I believe, was it John Broome?
Yeah. Gil Kane, John Broome, and Gil Kane Was it like a tradition that Gil Kane, if John Broome and Gil Kane did a Green Lantern comic, they would put Julie Schwartz in the comic.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just, I mean, I can't, it's almost impossible for me. I guess I'd have to sit down and think about it a lot to pick a favorite Gil Kane moment. I mean, book or his, I love his Green Lantern. I love his Atom.
Sword of the Atom. Sword of the Atom was great.
And Sword of the Atom. Yeah. I love his Superman stuff.
Yeah.
Look at that. I have this hardcover that has all of his Superman stuff that he did right before, into the Bronze Age there.
Very interesting story where Superman kind of lost his powers, and I think at one time he got so weak all he could do was be Clark Kent.
Yeah. Marv Wolfman, I think he wrote that.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, nothing like a Gil Kane cover. Yeah, there was Sword of the Atom. It was great.
Yeah, he did Western comics back when everybody was doing Western comics. And unless you knew Gil Kane, it didn't really stand out. But when they did like Marvel, whatever they would do later, the reprints of that, Gil Kane usually did the covers of the Western that they reprinted.
There was Starhawks, of course. A strip he did forever. There was this. I mean, I have a different cover. I have the other cover, but there was this one. His name is Savage. He just like a one. There was only one comic, right?
Yep. I got mine autographed by Gil Kane.
I wanted this cover. I never got the one with Lee Marvin on the cover. They had the Lee Marvin cover. This is great stuff here. I have the Fantagraphics version like you do. This one.
Yeah. And that was a guy who, like him or not, Gary Groth was a really, really big fan and a booster of Gil Kane. He'd just come right out and say, I like Gil Kane. He would print the hell out of Gil Kane stuff, like this Gil Kane Savage. And I think he wanted him to do another one. And when did Kane die? Like 2000? They never got around to it.
Yeah.
What was that Conan type character that he did?
Oh, that's right. He did Conan a lot.
Black Star. Oh yeah, he did a shitload of Conan, but he did. It was a Black Star. That was cartoon.
Oh yeah, it was Black Throne. It was for. It was Black Throne, or something like that. It was Black Throne. I know what you're talking about. Something black, something or other. Black Mark. Black Mark. That was it, right?
And that's another thing. They didn't reprint it until after he died.
Yeah. He did a great stint on Conan. I mean, he took over Conan really not too long after Barry Windsor Smith left it, if I'm right. I mean, if I'm not mistaken. I mean,
the very first piece of original art I ever bought was a Conan page from the annual number 9. And it kind of shocked me because there was no words on that page. And some of the stuff was done in a different color to denote that it was to be like it's a background thing. And I gave it away to a friend of mine one year for his birthday or Christmas or something. And after he died, his sister's boyfriend took everything and left with it. And we don't know where that page is now, but it was a good thing to look at, just hanging around, look at it on the wall. Gil Kane was a master craftsman, and he did say at one time, what was this? Dallas Fantasy Fair. He went there a lot. I got to ask him, what's the difference between when you were coming up and when all these new guys coming along? He said, well, the new guys, the only thing they bring to the business is their impressions of comic book artists. They don't know anything about anatomy. They don't know anything about art history. And that was true. I mean, you got somebody like Rob Liefeld who could become a millionaire, not be able to draw feet. Gil Kane showed you the fucking tendons, the bones, the wrinkles, the ankles, and the folds in the skin on a foot. And that was because he studied it and he knew how to do it.
He was just, I can't, I get it's, I'm trying to show just as many examples as tip of the iceberg. I mean, I can't, it's tough. It's sort of, it's a little bit easier for me to pick a favorite Kirby, although it's tough to do that too. But with Alex Raymond, it's easy because it's, I mean, he did other stuff, but it's just Flash Gordon that defines him. With Kane,
Oh,
I guess
Kane
Green
also
Lantern.
did Tarzan.
He did he did some great Tarzan too. That's right. I mean, he was just, and again, all those covers he did. He did the first couple of issues of Marvel's John Carter with Dave Cocker making him.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Although he liked Rudy Nebrezik in him
Yeah.
for some reason. I don't know
I got it from him. He said it looked a lot more interesting than anything anybody else did. And were you at the convention when Joe Rubinstein said Gil Kane hated his inking?
Yes.
He said they're standing there and Gil Kane's looking at the pages and he turns and walks away and he walked out through the back door so he didn't have to walk past Joe Rubinstein. And Joe, after a while, he goes over to the editor. He goes, "What's wrong?" He said, "Gil said he doesn't ever want to see you inking his comics ever again." And I thought I even told him, I thought Rudy Nebres made his stuff look weird. And he said, well, he does things differently. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Rod
And I wish I had, this is the injustice of this whole thing of you and me meeting all these people. There were no cell phones back then. We had to depend on somebody's little Instamatic whose battery was running low so that the flash on it was so weak we looked like we're standing in a cave with no lighting. If I'd had the phone that I have right now, I'd have it full of video of Gil Kane and Jack Kirby and all those people that we met back then they're never coming again. I honestly couldn't tell you anybody today that is their equal.
Nobody is. These are great artists and great cartoons. See, they're not just great artists. In the case of Kane or Ditko, they're brilliant storytellers. There are a lot of people who can make a pretty picture. If you can make sequential art with a bunch of panels telling a cohesive story that's moving like that and action-packed and really powerful and dynamic, that's a Kirby, that's a Kane.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just love it. Love him. And we'll better move on to the next one. Because, again, you could do 5 shows about Kane and Kirby.
Look at the time.
Sorry, everyone. We're going to get on to our next one here. Let me see. Who would be my next one here? Okay. The next one, my good friends, is... And again, this is another guy you got to watch your time on it because it could take with all of them because they're the Pantheon. My next one, my friends, is, of course, the great Will Eisner.
Yep.
We were lucky enough to meet him, too.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember this or not, but he had left the dealer's room and Dennis Kitchen from Kitchen Sink Comics was sitting there. And you and I were standing there talking. And I mentioned your name. I said, Mike, whatever. And then the guy goes, "Oh, are you Mike?" He says, I think Will Eisner left this here for you. And whatever it was like 10 or 20 bucks. It was a Spirit magazine that Kitchen Sink put out that he had just autographed to Mike. And maybe he was just a huckster just trying to sell something, or maybe you just happen to have that name. And hell, looking back on it, I was like, God, I wish I had plunked down the money for that for you.
Oh my! I don't know how you even remember that stuff. Jesus.
I'm old. I got nothing else to do all day.
I don't remember any of that kind of stuff.
I saw them. Him and his wife were walking at the crosswalk, and my first. I wanted to go over there and help him cross the street, but I didn't want to look like a prick, you know. But he was standing there waiting for that little walking man to change or whatever, and they were talking about something, and then they walked across the street. Now, we had gone. I'm not sure if you were at this Dallas Fantasy Fair or not, but I
was at all the ones you were at, I think.
Okay. Will Eisner was supposed to be the big guest, and he couldn't be there because his wife had taken ill. That was years before the Atlanta, what was it, Dragon Con, or was it Atlanta Fantasy Fair?
Yeah, we went to Dragon Con when it was first started. Atlanta Fantasy Fair when he was there too. Yeah.
Yeah, sir. Second time we met Kirby was at Atlanta Fantasy Fair.
Yep, that's right.
And I keep saying Dragon Con, but it was Atlanta Fantasy Fair.
Yeah.
Those things, like, we couldn't get a decent con in our town Very rarely did we get. We
No.
got we get like Star Trek people. Remember, we had like Walter Koenig and DeForest Kelley at one, and that was the biggest thing that we had. And it was mostly a party convention. You'd go there, and if you knew Dave, you would go there and hang out and meet people. And then after about 10 o'clock at night, somebody started blasting music. They were passing around beers and stuff like that, or there was a dance.
Yeah.
But we didn't go there for the dance. We didn't go there to meet girls. We we went there to meet guys like Eisner and Kane.
The way you made that sound.
And Kirby. I loved it though. I mean, well, I met my wife.
Those were the best cons ever.
I met my wife at a convention, so
don't hold that against it.
Well,
no.
She's all right. I mean,
she can't hear us, can she?
Oh. No. I think she left the room because when I'm over here talking with a headset on, she'll think I'm talking to her, and I'll go, "I'm on the podcast. Please go get me a sandwich, woman."
So everyone, we're on the, I believe, inductee number 4 to the Pantheon of 10 of the Clobberin Times Mark C. Comic book artist and comic strip creator Hall of Fame. I messed up my own damn stupid title. But yeah, so, and then we are on the great Will Eisner. I mean, he did a lot of other great things later, but of course he's most well known for The Spirit. He's kind of well known in comic history of being also part of the Eisner Iger Studios that pumped out a lot of comics in the 40s.
Also, he inspired people too, like Mike Plug, Bill Messner-Loebs,
Frank Miller.
Yeah, but I'm talking about their style. I mean, yeah, Frank Miller, but you look at Bill Messner-Loebs' style on Journey, and I would say Mike Plug on his Planet of the Apes run. That all looked like it was heavily influenced by Will Eisner. And if you can find it, I found it at a video store in New Orleans years ago. I don't know if it still exists. There's a documentary, and it's only a half hour long, called Will Eisner Cartoonist. It's 2 discs, but one of them is like stuff that he's done, people talking about him, and you know where he was big? He was a hot shot. He was a big deal in Brazil. I mean, they had TV specials about him in Brazil, and when he showed up, and I guess he spoke the language, Brazil, remember, that's not Spanish, that's Portuguese. When a guy is talking about Will Eisner, Will Eisner laughs at the spots where he's supposed to laugh, and I guess he understood Portuguese. But he was a god down there.
Well, he was just an absolute master of comic book art. There was an old video that you and I used to have with Harlan Ellison doing the
Masters of Comic Book Art.
The Masters of Comic Book Art.
It's on YouTube.
Oh yeah, anyone who loves comic book art, the Masters of Comic Book Art is on YouTube. Yes, it's got obviously a couple of the gentlemen we've been talking about tonight on there. So yeah, he did a lot of other stuff, folks. Don't get me wrong, but something about his spirit work. I mean, look at especially every splash page. Have you ever looked at a Will Eisner, every logo, everything he did on a splash without finding any as good a pictures on here as this one?
And how many different ways can you write the spirit on your splash page?
Yes.
As many times as you have splash pages. He did buildings. He did like water flowing in the rain. And, he did, that logo, which was unique. And sometimes the spirit logo would be part of the story, like people yelling from the R. The logo.
It was a genius.
And nobody else could do that. Now, you get somebody like Frank Miller who comes along, says he's inspired by Will Eisner, says he holds him to like high esteem, and then he does a shitty piece of movie called The Spirit. I'm sorry, give me Sam J. Jones before you give me that guy.
Oh God, yeah, Sam J. Jones played the Spirit in a TV movie, folks. If you don't know, look at this though. Look at these. Yeah. Look at the logo. Look at the building forming the word "the Spirit." Look all these different ways he formed the word the spirit. He was fantastic.
And the action figure that I got long ago, probably about 15, 20 years ago, comes with two heads. One of them is like bloody and dripping blood, and one of them is just the smiling face of the spirit with the hat on. And it's plastic, and it's not very well articulated. It has a red cloth tie with a wire in it, so you can move it around. And one of the extra thing that came with it, besides the tombstone that says R.I.P. Denny Colt, are the letters SPIRIT, and you can just lay them down, stand them up.
Yes, Pat asked. We've been to Coast Con many times. It's why my kids exist, because I met my future ex-wife at the time in 1985 at a Coast Con.
Met her at the same time.
We met her at the same time. So
well, you won.
I guess. Well, my kids would say my kids get to exist, so I guess they do.
Yeah.
But yes. Oh, there you go. That's a very cool video. You all should watch there. Yeah, so far, that's right. Jesus is my king. It's Jack Kirby, Flash Gordon guy, I don't remember his name. Alex Raymond, Steve Ditko, Gil Kane, now Will Eisner. Yes, Will Eisner was a master. We'll get on to our next one in a second here, but yes. And by the way, if I'm missing any of this stuff in the chat, I'm sorry, but I'm my eyes are off of it a lot while I'm doing finding these pictures and stuff. So anyway. Let's see here. Let me get ready for our next one. Let me see.
Can I say something quick about all these guys? Maybe except for Alex Raymond. Every one of these guys, except Alex Raymond, had at one time worked for what they would call a sweatshop. They were assembly line artists, Kirby included. Gil Kane, Will Eisner, especially because he owned the sweatshop.
Yeah. He did. A lot of them owned sweatshops, and they were, the Eisner Iger Studios, as they were famously called.
Everybody had to draw a certain way. That's why you look back and you see Carmine Infantino drawing like who was the guy that did Terry and the Pirates?
Milton Caniff.
Milton Caniff. A lot of these guys used the same style and eventually branched off and developed their own.
Yeah, absolutely. Our next inductee, everyone, is actually, we're going to do it as a twofer. They are in individually, but they're kind of a duo. They are a duo, and we have to give them, we kind of put them there in there together, in a sense. But also their individuality is not to be denied. And that is, of course, the great Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. Some say Shuster. What more do you need? You don't have to say much. They gave us that big gentleman in the middle.
Yeah. That's Joe on the left and Jerry on the right.
Yeah, this is, of course, in their much older days, folks. Creators of Superman, in case you were wondering, and I know you weren't. I know you know. Absolutely, they belong here. Joe Shuster, obviously, he did a lot of art and everything, but he's most known for his Superman work. Whereas Jerry Siegel, of course, not only created Superman, he created the Spectre.
Yep.
Did they create Slam Bradley or something?
Yep, Slam Bradley.
But he also created a lot of other characters that I can't even remember off the top of my head. I'm naturally nothing's bigger than Superman, but he created a lot of characters. Wrote comics for a pretty good while. And but again, he even created Superboy for Superman. But you can kind of just stop at Superman. Really, you don't have to go that far. He even wrote for Marvel later in his later life. Yeah. Believe it or not, a lot of people don't know that Stan Lee gave him some work for Marvel, some in some backups and things like that.
But then in his, I don't know, I think it was his 60s or something, he became a delivery boy. And one of his places on his route was DC Comics. And whoever was in charge of DC Comics at the time called his boss and said, look, don't send that guy around here anymore. Because it made him feel bad at the trashy way they treated him and Joe Shuster. And it took Neil Adams getting his nose out of joint and embarrassing the shit out of DC Comics since the
Warner
movie was coming up.
That's right. The movie helped them a lot. Neil Adams, say what you want about him, and he'll be on a future list, everyone, if you're wondering. The horrific, garbage way Siegel and Schuster were treated by national periodical publications, a.k.a. DC Comics, was a goddamn disgrace.
Yeah.
Neil Adams, art scene here. They didn't get a lot, but they were destitute.
He did say that he went to DC Comics one day, and he went down to the art department, and there was a guy there with a pair of scissors clipping away paper. And he asked him, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Well, I'm cutting this up because we give them away." And it was original art.
Yeah.
And they were giving away
Schuster's original art.
Schuster's art. They were doing everybody's because they didn't think it was worth anything. They would clip them up and put them in little paperbacks. They would clip them up and hand them out to guests at their offices. I went up there one time, and all I got was like an autographed book of like with the death of Superman or something like that. And I gave it to a friend of mine, like, here, take this. I don't need it. But they died with the world knowing who they were and what they created and on the screen. And it had as much effect on me as that big S blazing out was the name. It said Superman created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. And those big blue and white and silver 3D letters.
Yep.
And now it says it everywhere. Every Superman comic says Superman created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. Joe Shuster doesn't get as much of a mention anymore because I think all of his heirs had died. But Siegel's heirs went to court, and it says, it even says on the new whatever the Snyder cut says, by arrangement with the Jerry Siegel family.
Yeah, well, they had some big issues in the late 2000s and early 2010s. Some court cases that were going on that kind of mess up the rights. Some say a lot of that was the reasons why the costume got changed a little bit.
Yeah,
there were certain things they couldn't use. Batman Brave and the Bold, a wonderful cartoon that I love very much, by the way. For example, for the first couple of years, they couldn't put Superman on there. They've got to hit him in the background. Then when they got the thing settled a little bit, they did manage to put Superman on it with a wonderful episode called Battle of the Superheroes, where Superman and Batman finally team up. But let's give a lot of credit to the great artist Neil Adams, who really helped these guys because he had a lot of clout with DC at the time.
And he knew it could happen to him.
Yeah.
They could do it to Siegel and Schuster, who basically built their company. They can do it to him.
Oh, good on you. We've met Adams a few times. I know you've met him a bunch of times. That's good on you, Rod Thunder. He said, I met Neil Adams 3 years ago. Thanked him for saving Siegel and Schuster. Well, good on you. Sure, yeah, that's good. Because
I called him the handsomest man in comics to his face at Wizard World.
He probably agreed with you, knowing him.
Yeah, I think he did. He didn't say no. He didn't hold up a hand and go, all right, that's enough of that. He just went, okay. That autograph is going to be $10.
I've talked about that a little bit, Pat S. Action Comics #1 is, and along with Fantastic Four #1 and Detective Comics 27 and Amazing Fantasy 15 are probably all the most famous covers of all time. FF one is probably the most spoofed or copied cover of all time.
Yeah, even by Fantastic Four. Remember they had She-Hulk lifting the car up?
So many times I've counted. You can't find them all. They're like that hundreds of times that one's been aped. But even the Action one. So yeah, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. They're in there individually. Don't get me wrong, but we put them together because they were a team. They gave us the first superhero. They gave us so much, and they got so little.
Yeah, they settled. They settled, and everything pretty much came to a stop. They got a stipend, and I think one of the main things they were trying to get was insurance, so they finally got that too. And a lot of artists for some reason in comics, it never occurred to anybody to go, hey, we offer an insurance plan and a retirement package because artists don't retire. You just go on forever. But they got that. They got the special dispensation from the Lord God DC on high because he was embarrassed by what an asshole everybody found out they were at DC because Neil by God Adams went in and he threw his thing down and he said, "This is the way it's going to be if you ever want Neil Adams again."
Thank you, Neil Adams, for that. And by the way, thank you, Phantom Outsider. My eyes have been on this other screen, so I didn't realize you were saying those, but I'm glad you pointed those out. He also created, we mentioned Slam Bradley earlier, but yes, Zatara.
Yeah.
Of course, he did. Yes, Slam Bradley, as we mentioned earlier.
Well, Zatara wasn't really that hard to create.
We said
Zatara he was Mandrake.
Yeah, pretty much. We said the Spectre, of course. Let's see.
Yep.
And he's got a couple other ones. Dr. Occult. Yeah. Wow. So obscure there. And I love you, Star Spangled Kid and Stripesy. And yes, you mentioned from some of my favorite Legionnaires. Bouncing Boy, Brainiac 5. I love Brainy. Triplicate Girl, who later became Duo Damsel, Invisible Kid, Matter Eater Lad. Matter Eater Lad, wasn't that Shooter?
Yeah.
I think that was Shooter, buddy. Phantom Girl, Companion Boy. I love those Legionnaires, but I'm not sure if any of those were created by Siegel. He may have been gone, but he did create some Legionnaires. He did, Otto Binder and Al Plastino, I think, mostly created the Legion. But
I know that Jim Shooter created Matter Eater Lad because they made fun of him in the DC Legends, and in some other thing where I think it was a Marvel comic where they had a kind of a rip off of Matter Eater Lad, and it looked like Jim Shooter.
Matter Eater Lad was not Shooter. Sure, okay, I believe you. I thought he was Pharaoh.
Oh wait, that's right. Jim Shooter created Bladder Eater Lad.
Pharaoh Lad was Shooter. It feels like a Shooter creation, but you're right. Again,
it's a stupid power, so we automatically gave it to Shooter.
Yeah, Phantom Outsider. Why don't we pull like a John Byrne and be revisionist history and blame Matter Eater Lad on Shooter, just to be mean to Shooter. I like some shit. By the way,
I don't always refer to Wikipedia, but I had to look it up. Matter Eater Lad first appeared in Adventure Comics number 303 and was created by Jerry Siegel and John Forte.
Man, Phantom Outsider knocking it out of the park.
I
never check any of this stuff. If I forgot it, I just say screw it. All right. Why did I think it was Shooter? Because I was thinking of Pharaoh Lad, maybe.
Because it's a ridiculous character.
Yeah, that's because he's ridiculous. I like Tinzel Kim from Bismol.
Bismol. There you go.
But he's ridiculous, so I was blaming him on Shooter, man.
You think Jerry Siegel had a bad night one night, and he said, "What the hell did I eat?" And somebody go, "It tasted like cardboard. Maybe it was lead. I don't know. Well, let's go get some Pepto Bismol, and we'll feel better."
Because we love Jerry Siegel, we're going to blame Matter Eater Lad on Shooter anyway. And we're going to revise history so he doesn't get the blame for it.
Let's say Jerry Siegel created it, but Jim Shooter shootered all over it.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. I like Matter Eater Lad. We're just goofing on him.
I go Bladder Eater Lad. So
with that name, I don't know. Yeah, according to yes, Pepto.
Followed by his son, NyQuil Boy.
I actually have Adventure 303, so I have no excuse. I have a crappy copy of it, though. I have a 300, too. A really horrible copy of number 300. All right, let's see here. All right,
Adventure 300, was that the little digest version?
No, that was 500.
Oh,
300 was was one of the early appearances, really. And had you'd recognize the cover if you saw it. Our next inductee, folks, is Thoth, cool, man. Arm Fallout Boy is worse. Hey. Arm Fallout Boy. Let's not knock Arm Fallout Boy. Yeah. He's going to be in a movie.
Yeah. So is Fortress Lad.
Fortress Lad is my favorite. Hey, I don't want to hear any cracks about Fortress Lad. Anybody makes fun of Fortress Lad is going to talk to me on this one. I love Fortress Lad.
Fortress Lad will never be homeless.
And if you know who Fortress Lad is, you need a freaking life. I'm too late for me to get a life, but you might need one.
You need a different life. who was the infectious lass? That was another dumb power.
Yeah. Can we all blame infectious lass on Shooter, even though it probably wasn't him? I don't know. All right. Anyway, we're getting into Legion weeds there. Sorry, everyone. All right, everyone, for our next inductee into the Clobberin Times Mark C. comic book strip creator Hall
Oh my God!
of Fame.
I had to jump in here. Oh my God! You know who created? I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this.
What?
You've got Edmund Hamilton.
Edmund Hamilton was a great writer.
Cannot be the one. He cannot be the one who created Infectious Lass. No. That's not happening in my universe.
Wow. Edmund Hamilton. Well, he was.
I'm just saying.
Wow. He did a lot of Legion, though. He did a lot.
He's talking about the Legion of substitute heroes.
Right. He did a lot of Legion, though. A well-known science fiction writer, Edmund Hamilton, who did write a lot of Legion of Superheroes. You're telling me created? I know. Did he create the substitutes, or he just created Infectious Lass? I think he created the substitutes.
Legion of substitute heroes. So I would guess
he created the subs.
Them. That's them. That's even Polar Boy.
Well, she was with the subs, but I was saying, did he create her later? Oh, yeah. Okay. All right, everyone. We'll move on to our next one because we're gonna have some fun with this one. Our next inductee, folks, into the Hall of Fame. But I didn't want to say the whole sentence again. Did Dave Cockrum create Infectious Lass? It could have been him. Well, if he did, he didn't write it. It would have been Carrie Bates or somebody with it. So I think Carrie Bates was writing it when Cockrum first started.
Why did you just name her Herpes Girl?
Yeah. You got me, Lord Thought. You know my memory, dude. I'm senile at this point, man.
Chlamydia woman.
Yeah, that's a different anyway, all right. Next inductee, everyone, is, of course, the great Bill Finger. This man did well. Look, you got Siegel and Schuster. You got Siegel and Schuster for Superman, and you've got Bill Finger for Batman. There's no Batman, and there's no argument to be had. Yeah, Bob Kane. The best thing Bob Kane ever did was bring Bill Finger in.
Yeah.
His buddy Bill Finger that he screwed over, you all know, right?
What was that you used to say? DC Comics gave Bill the finger?
Yeah. Bates Cockrum, thank you, Phantom Outsider. Phantom Outsider, you are hired, sir. You were hired as an archivist, and it pays very well, by meaning it pays compliments. Like I'll be constantly saying, dude, you were amazing. That's fantastic. That's the compliments, man. But there are benefits too.
It's a virtual pat on the back.
Yes. The documentary, Bill Finger thing, documentary on Hulu was great.
Batman, was it Batman and Bill
Batman
Finger?
And Bill, something like that. Yeah. Anyone has not, and if you have Hulu, if you see, if you could find that video, if it's still on there, Batman and Bill Finger, whatever it's called, Batman and Bill, someone knows, I'm sure. I forget what it's called. It's really good, though. Yeah, it was a good one, Pat. This gentleman, that documentary will make you, it'll make you cry, dude. It is sad. It is just damn sad what happened to this man. I want to show you all something here. Has anyone ever seen this? The artist Ty Templeton did this, if you can see it.
Oh, God. Yeah.
What if Bob Kane had created, and put it in quotations, Batman without Bill Finger? If you can't read it, let's see if I can make it bigger. That's not going to help much.
It's basically, he would have been a guy with a red suit and a plastic bat wing swinging from a rope. And he just fought a regular guy, hand him over to the cops, and the last he goes, "Well, then I guess I'll go home. I wish I had a car." Yeah, I want to read it. I'm gonna read it to him because I'm gonna find a big picture. And don't forget that last panel. Yeah, I got to find that last panel. It's hilarious. Bill Finger. What if? No, the last panel on this page.
And I'm trying to find, I can't see it there. I'm going to have to find the picture of it and read it.
Oh, it's up there.
Oh, here we go. I got a big
You got a big one.
picture of it here. If I can find. All right. All right, everyone. If you can't read that, it has Batman in the first, Batman in his, as conceived of by Bob Kane, the logo Batman and No One, the Boy Wonder.
Yeah.
He's saying what to do in the first panel. In the second panel, said that looks like a bad guy. Time to go into action. Third panel, ow! He knocks the guy over. Fourth panel, that was easy. The other guy, Next panel, time to go to jail. Next panel, in the jail. I caught a crook. What's with the wings, Pally? I lifted them from a Da Vinci sketch. Beyond that, I don't know. Next panel, looks like there's some. Look, is there some sort of commissioner I could talk to? Not in this comic. Next panel, are there any other imaginative or colorful villains that need capturing? Nope. Well, then I guess I'll go home. I wish I had a car. And it says just Bob Kane. And of course, next, all of Bob Kane's other ideas.
Yeah, because he had so many. There's so many people that work for him that were much more talented than he was. And got to remember, we're not putting Bob Kane in this spot. This is Bill Finger. You had Dick Sprang, who it still said Bob Kane on the book on the first page. Jerry Robinson,
Jack Burnley, a bunch of people.
And it always had Bob Kane's name down there. And he was as notorious as Stan Lee because everybody attributed everything to him. And it wasn't true. He came up with the name, and guess where he got the name? He got the name from Mary Roberts Reinhardt novel that had been made into a movie serial called something about the Bat.
Well, there was a pulp character called the Bat, wasn't there?
Well, this is what I'm talking about. Mary Roberts Reinhardt wrote a mystery novel about a character called the Bat.
Yes.
And I think the thing was probably called the Bat Creeps or something like that. But that's where he got his idea for Batman from. The Bat. I will put the word man after it.
Yeah. But Bill Finger, he just did a hell of a lot. He wrote a lot of stuff. He was prolific at the time, and he never got credit back then.
Yeah.
He wrote for all these different things you can see here, and he
was devastated too. This is not something that was treated lightly. It kind of ruined his life.
It did. I mean, it was his buddy, his pal, who I believe Bob Kane was around like 18 or something at the time when they first sold Batman, and had his buddy. His father had a lawyer. Got a lawyer from him. It was, I guess you could, if you want to call that smart. Let's see here. It's Superboy 201. Yep, Superboy starring the Legion of Superheroes. The Infectious Last first appeared, but more importantly, Erg One. Well, Wildfire is one of my all-time favorite characters. Yeah. I love Erg One. Love Wildfire, buddy. Love him. So that's cool. But yes, and this, he wrote an episode. This is talked about in that documentary, folks. He actually wrote a 2-part episode with the Clock King on the 1966 Batman TV series.
Yep. And
his buddy who he co-wrote the episode with, tells a story that it just made me want to. Wow. He was so proud that he was going to have his name on a TV show that he asked the guy, "Do you think I could have my name at the top just for once?" And the guy, sure. I forget the guy's name, Charles. Forget the gentleman's name. But he said, sure, if it means that much to you, it's fine. So he didn't have much of it. He didn't have much of a TV in his garbage old apartment that he lived in New York. Yeah. So they let him go to ABC offices in New York and let him watch the episode when it premiered. The one with the Clock King, played by Victor Slezak. If you remember that episode of
Slezak.
Slezak?
Slezak makes it sound like a porn star.
Okay. Slezak? Maybe it says
Slezak.
Maybe he's the Slezak from Land of the Lost. Victor Slezak, excuse me.
Well,
it was Charles. No, William Dozier was the producer. This guy was Charles something or other. I forget his name, to be honest with you. But yeah. But anyway, they let them watch the show, and I think he said Bill cried. I mean, Bill was so he finally got acknowledged for some of his work. And again, not to bring the mood to them, he really had a tragic ending. And it took until, you know how much I hate the Snyderverse crap, Man of Steel, but finally it took all the way until, and it was because of this gentleman who made this documentary, finding his relatives and his heirs and stuff. It took the first time he ever got credit for creating Batman and anything in the national media was Batman versus Superman. That's 2016, folks. Co-created him, and he first appears in Detective Comics 27 in 1939, and he doesn't get any recognition till he's long since gone by almost 40-something years.
Yeah, man died in 1974.
Yeah, 74. And it took till 2016 to get a little bit of credit on a movie. Fuck you, DC.
And there's no excuse for it. Everybody at DC Comics knew this.
Everyone knew it.
It was not even an open secret. It was a fact. Everybody knew it. Anybody that worked with Bob Kane knew it. He was a self-promoter. He was like the Don King of comics. And he had pretty much, he said, well, yeah, Bill helped out a little bit.
Yeah, remember Finger Alley?
Yeah.
Was it Denny O'Neil or somebody named one of these back alleys where behind Bruce Wayne's mansion, whatever, Finger Alley? They constantly talked about Bill Finger. The gentleman we're going to talk about next even mentioned him. And there was back when I think Bob Kane got about, I think, $1 million or something for the Batman TV show. Kane was releasing these really good looking lithographs of Batman that were colored, that were very expensive, and that he claimed that he did.
Yeah.
They were done by a gentleman, if you know comics history, by the name of Joe Giella, who was an inker and artist for DC and others for years. I didn't know that until a number of years ago. So it wasn't by Gil Kane. Latino Slant, Paulie, what's up, good buddy? Congrats on crossing 1,000 subs, my brother. Look forward to hanging out with you tomorrow night. The great Latino Slant. There's a link to his channel below. If you've not gone to that channel yet, please do. Good to see you, my friend. So Bill Finger, and again, like I said, before we move on to the next inductee, if you get a chance, go to Hulu and watch that documentary about Bill Finger. I think it's Batman and Bill. Batman and Bill. It is sad, but it's touching and it's really good. So Bill Finger, you created Batman, sir. I know it doesn't mean much now, but you're acknowledged and you're in this Hall of Fame and others.
Also, there's a relatively famous picture of Bob Kane with a brush on a canvas that's already been painted. And as somebody who has painted before, I know you don't just stand there and put a brush on it and say, hey, look what I just painted. And there's a girl, he's looking at this girl like he's going to bone her. And he probably did, because he did that a lot too. He was modeled for Catwoman. It was a picture of Batman and Catwoman with the bat signal in the background. And that was supposed to be Bob Kane saying, look what I just painted. Except that I can't paint.
Yeah, of course you can't.
And I don't know if I actually got kicked off the Bob Kane fan page, because I kind of started a shitstorm when I went in there and I said, I gave them all the knowledge I had about Bob Kane, and people behind me were going, yeah, that's true. It's like, yeah, Bob, the only reason anybody remembers Bob Kane's name is because he had a lawyer who basically walked in and said, this is how it's going to be if you want Batman to be at DC Comics. And they went along with it. They were so hot to get this hot new character, Batman, and they did everything. They moved mountains to get Bob Kane's name on this. He's going to get paid forever for creating by himself Batman.
Yes.
And then years later, after the TV show went off the air, they considered Batman a dead property. So I think Benjamin Melniker and Michael Uslan bought the rights for something like $8,000.
Well, those guys are making a little.
And now every time you see cartoon, movie, anything that Batman shows up in, you see their names. Those guys have got to be multi-billionaires. They could probably hire Bill Gates to come wipe their asses.
They got a lot of money now because of Batman, because of Bill Finger.
And because DC had no confidence in the character back then. in the late
Yeah.
60s. They said, "Oh, screw it. We're never going to do anything with this again."
Well, yep. Well, everyone, we have 2 more inductees to go. The next inductee is, of course, let's see here. How do I put this? This, of course, again, in the Clobberin Times Mark C. Comic Book Strip Creator Hall of Fame. Our next inductee is, of course, let me see. Let me get myself together here. So I got to take this. Thing's going a little slow on me.
William Shatner.
Yes, William Shatner. No, it's his birthday. Happy birthday, Shatner, again. But it is, of course, I don't know if this might surprise some of our friends like Phantom Outsider or something like that, who are, of course, who really knows his stuff. But I really feel strongly about this one. That is going to be, of course, the great Julius Schwartz.
Yep.
And sorry, everyone, I got the picture. Let me see. Let me find the picture. Sorry, everyone. I had one, and what's wrong with this damn thing? There we go. I hit the wrong thingy. There you go. Oh, there we go. I think it worked. Where are you?
All I see is words. Just type in Gil Kane, Julie Schwartz, and
No, I got. It's not that. I hit the wrong. I've got it. I just hit the wrong damn. Something wrong with the stupid. I hate this thing sometimes. Where are you? Oh, there you go. I got it. Just keep it hitting the wrong one there. Sorry, everyone. Okay, Julius Schwartz. Not an artist, not even a writer.
Nope.
No, John Byrne will not be in the top 10, but don't worry, he'll get there. A lot of people will get there. Mark D. If you're not familiar with Julius Schwartz, well, you are in a sense, because if you've read any DC comics in your life,
especially Superman.
Especially Superman. Others, but especially Superman. This gentleman once was before he went into editing comics, he was an agent for such luminaries in the science fiction field as what Ray Bradbury, Alfred Bester.
I think it can be said that he discovered Ray Bradbury. He basically discovered the great Ray Bradbury. So that's some pretty serious stuff right there. And that was before he went into comics. Yeah. I think he took over Superman. Was under the control of the legendary editor Mort Weisinger for a long time, and then Julius Schwartz took over and handled Superman. I don't know, was it almost 20 years? It was 17 years, but 17? To me, it felt like a whole lot longer because it felt like he had always been there.
Yes. Yep. You and I have been fortunate enough to meet him a couple of times. I bought a piece of original art from him.
Yeah.
A Superboy page from the new.
You got his book, didn't you?
I got his book signed. I didn't find my picture of it to bring up here, but yes, I got his book signed. You got it, of course.
Yeah. And I met him because I was going with a girl at the time who she lived in Fort Worth or someplace like that, and I lived in Baton Rouge. This is what an idiot I was, and kind of some of it carries over to today. She wanted to go to this convention so bad, and I said, well, I want to go there too. And it was pretty sure it was in Austin. So I drove all the way to Fort Worth to drive her all the way to Austin to go to this convention. And at some point, I kind of misplaced her. So I started talking to Julius Schwartz. And this girl's brother was there with us too. So you know what kind of date that was. Anyway, he walks over to Julius Schwartz and says, I'd like to thank you for all the years of pleasure and enjoyment that you've given me. And Julius Schwartz said, oh, you're welcome, young man. And he walked away. And we both looked at each other like, yeah. I knew him, but I act like I don't know this guy. So we started talking about Gil Kane. And as soon as I said the word my boy, he goes, my boy. Yeah, that's Gil, all right. And there was at I have to say hospitality suite because we call it the hostility suite. There was a barrel with ice and water and sodas in it. And I reached in, I pulled out like a Coke or something. And I said, can I get you something? And I was just joking. He said, well, if you could fish out a Diet Dr. Pepper. I said, hang on a second. I stuck my arm down in there. And I pulled up something. It wasn't it. reasonable. He goes, "Hey, you don't really have to do that." I said, "Hang on, Julie. I'm going to get you your damn Diet Dr. Pepper." And I fished around in there until I finally found a Diet Dr. Pepper. It was only like a minute and a half, but he was very appreciative. And I said, "Well, what can I say? I'm a fan of your work." And he goes, "What work?"
Julius Schwartz, once when he had be having a science fiction background, he's the responsible for the first. I don't know if it's the first reboot in all of fiction, but it might be the first sort of soft reboot anyway in comics history. And when in the Silver Age in the mid-50s, when after years of superhero comics not doing a whole lot, they were around, of course, but the congressional hearings and other things like that on comic books, the Wortham years, all those sorts of things. They were kind of a bit stagnant. And he, having a science fiction background, when he came into DC, he decided, now I love the Silver Age characters. I don't necessarily agree with him on this, but he didn't like the Flash's origin, that he was just a guy that drank some, Jay Garrick drank some serum and got super speed, or that Alan Scott found a lantern that was green and got magic powers. He wanted a more science fiction approach to these characters. So he basically helped got with some creators like Gardner Fox and John Broome and Gil Kane and Carmen Infantino, and they created the Hal Jordan Green Lantern and the Green Lantern Corps, and of course the Barry Allen Flash, and that ushered in the Silver Age of comics, really.
Yeah. And he pulled all those people together, like I was saying earlier about Will Eisner being able to grab people and put them together, and they had talent and stuff. Julie Schwartz spotted that, and especially Gardner Fox, a writer who had credit when they didn't really give writers credit back then.
Yes, he will be in the hall soon enough. Gardner Fox was amazing. But yes. Julius Schwartz.
Also a friend of Harlan Ellison.
Yeah, he was. Julius Schwartz, at the second time we got to hang out with Jack Kirby in 1990 at Atlanta Fantasy Fair, was the MC. That's true. That's actually true. Well, he's all over me. It was gas. That's right. That's right. But anyway, Julius Schwartz didn't care for it. Thank you, Phantom Outsider. Man, you're like the new Mark C, man. You correct me on everything.
So if you get stuck in an elevator with a guy who passes gas, you could start running very fast. Right.
Julius Schwartz was at this thing, and he was there to introduce our first inductee of the night, Jack Kirby. But he was for an award ceremony that we were there. We were fortunate enough to attend. Julius Schwartz came out and said, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster created Superman. Bill Finger and Bob Kane created Batman. And then he said, and Jack Kirby did everything else. Well, I bet Jack would respectfully say, well, you did a lot too, Julius Schwartz. Yeah. You belong in a Hall of Fame. Editors sometimes don't get credit as creators, but they're always, especially a guy like Julie, he's in on the creators. Yes, for example, Hal Jordan Green Lantern created by, was John Broome and Gil Kane, but also Julius Schwartz. Barry Allen Flash created, by Gardner Fox and Carmen Infantino. It was Gardner Fox, right? Gardner Fox and Carmen Infantino, but also Julius Schwartz. And he was in on a lot of the creations and the creating, and because a lot of editors that were hands-on back then. He guided the adventures of not just Superman, but others, Batman, and throughout the time in Flash, and he was just as big an editor as there was ever at DC. And the one last thing I'll say about him is when it came time for him to say goodbye to Superman to give way to the John Byrne reboot that I don't like much, as you know, Alan Moore came to him, and they were going to be doing the last story of the Silver Bronze Age Superman. And Alan Moore came to Julius Schwartz and said, if you don't let me write the last story, Superman's last story, I will kill you. Or something along those lines. And Julius Schwartz says, not wanting to be accomplice to my own murder, I allowed him to do it. And of course, we got that fantastic story, Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow.
Snop.
Snop, indeed. So, Julius Schwartz, thank you. I don't want to sound like your old buddy who, Anyway, our final inductee tonight, folks, is I'm getting it ready. I was going to be there. Is a gentleman who is so influential, so great, so extraordinary that, well, he created a school of cartooning. And that, of course, is the great Joe Kubert.
Another legend who also ushered new guys into comics, not the least of which are his boys, Adam and Andy.
Yep. He is just, well, again, we met him also, didn't we?
Yep, Dallas. Actually saw him jump into a pool with some skimpy little shorts on. This image is burned into my brain forever now.
I don't know where you start with Kubert. I bet a guy like Phantom Outsider would know where to start with Kubert, but sometimes I don't Phantom Outsider because there's so much. So you can start with him, and I'll try to think of some stuff.
Well, we got, he was the guy for Sergeant Rock. And he did these very detailed drawings. What was that thing called? A battle diary or something like that in the back of Sergeant Rock? He said he didn't know anything about those planes, but he drew them better than almost anybody. I, stack him up to one of his contemporaries, Russ Heath, as being as good as he was on the depiction of actual like tanks and planes and any kind of vehicle really. And when you saw a character and Kubert had drawn it, you knew right away. It's like Kirby. You see that style and you go, that's Joe Kubert. And I don't know, lately though, there's other people like his sons. I don't know which one is which, Adam and Andy. They kind of do an altered version of his style. And there's other people that draw like him. And one of the last things that Kubert did, he got to finish Redeemer. For that mini series.
Yeah, it was announced in the 80s.
Yeah, it was announced, and
it was solicited.
Yeah, he fell so far behind that he ended up having to buy all his art back from DC Comics, and then in that I don't know if it's 6 or 8 part, and it got put into a trade paperback where he had Sergeant Rock stories, and he had all of the Redeemer finally put in there. But one of the last things he did was either 2 or 3 issues of Dark Horse's Conan.
Yeah. Yeah. You there?
And it kind of made you think he should have been doing Conan for a while. Yeah, Hawkman is another big one for him.
Phantom, Ragman. Phantom Outside, I'm kind of with you. I didn't really buy Sergeant Rock that much either. I love the art. But yeah, I prefer his Tarzan, his Hawkman, his he did Ragman. Yes, he did. I mean, so yeah, his Sergeant Rock, which I loved, and the look of it and respected it. Yeah, my favorite stuff was his Hawkman. I don't know, what was your? I know you bought Sergeant Rock a bit.
I did. I like Sergeant Rock. I don't think at the time that he was doing any Western comics, but I can only guess that they would have been awesome too. But yeah, Hawkman at the time was my favorite Kubert book. And yeah, he goes back to the Golden Age. Yes.
He was just. It was phenomenal. I mean, again, it was sort of like it's such a huge, as they say, body of work. It's tough to even, I don't know, to know where to start.
Any of their DC's science fiction books, they usually had a cover or at least 1 or 2 stories in there by him. Strange Adventures.
Yes.
before it was all Adam Strange.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And again, definitely important to mention that the Kubert School for many, many years was, well, it was the where a lot of artists went to study how to draw comics. Maddie's Daddy kind of makes an interesting point. Kubert should never have been inked or colored, just the raw pencils. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I've never really thought about it that way. But I really did. I think my favorite may have been this Tarzan stuff. I'm gonna find some Tarzan stuff here. If I had to pick a favorite, come and think of it, he did Tarzan for many years for DC before the rights went over to Marvel.
Yeah,
I know you bought millions of those.
Tarzan.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I pretty much have all the Tarzans, and I have the big, the first artist edition of Kubert's Tarzan. And man, you should look at it because it's reproduced in actual size that he drew it in. And look at all the detail work, and look at some missed lines, and you go, "Wow, he missed a line there." But then if you look at it in the comic, it's like, ew, like he missed a thing. He knew what he was doing. Oh, Joe Kubert Presents was the name of the comic that was out, like I don't know, like I said, 6 or 8 parts.
That was one with Redeemer in it.
Yeah, it was one. It was an anthology series.
Yeah,
and they released it in paperback, and I think it was one of those big ones. It was like as big as one of the Marvel Epic collections when they released it. And yeah, it was that was something he worked long over. And I guess finally, when he got to have his name attached to it and probably got some money from it, then he finally finished it.
They did this artist edition of his black. I wish I'd have got this. I had the choice. You know, I was going to get. This is the second one, but they did a Joe Kubert artist edition of Tarzan, and it was sitting there next to a Kirby Thor artist edition. I could only get one. It was at a con, and I got the Kirby one, but I would love to have gotten the Tarzan one.
Well, I got the Tarzan one, and no, you can't have it, but it does have something inside there. Remember, there was a page when Tarzan was young, and he was going to go kill the guy who killed Kala. He's pulling. No, he's going to go kill Sabor, the lioness. Anyway, he's pulling back the arrow on his bow, and there's an overlay of the lion walking, and Tarzan's thinking about how he's going to go kill her. And it in the artist edition, it's an onion skin tissue overlay, like he would have used. And it's printed that way, and you can see Tarzan through it. You can see how they reproduced it from that.
Yeah,
the man knew everything about
cartooning
and art.
Yeah, no, I found Maddie's daddy Steve wanted us to find some black and white. I got some black and white Tarzan stuff here. Did you want to grab some? I don't know about it, some Sergeant Rock, or is the Tarzan stuff good enough for what you needed there? Because yes, this black and white stuff is incredible. A lot of people don't like the black and white stuff, but oh yeah, Brian Boland studied Kubert. Again, that was a time, you know, artists who came along in the 80s, like Boland or whatever, they studied the greats. They didn't scoff at them or have them. They respected the Kirbys, the Kanes, the Eisners, the Kuberts. They respected and they studied those people. Yeah, I mean, my favorite is this Tarzan stuff, but you're right, Steve. He did some. I mean, let me see if I can find some more Sergeant Rock. And
how about the Bible?
Oh yeah.
I wonder how that sold when it first came out, because I got the hardback. They got reprinted about 5 years ago.
Well,
and when I told Mark C about it, he said an expletive, and he said, "I've always wanted that." And I said, "Well, it's over here in Mississippi." I said, "If you drive over there, I will tell them to save it for you." And he never went and got it, as far as I know.
I think he ended up finding it though.
Yeah, I probably found it locally, but it's.
Well, didn't Nestor Redondo do the interiors?
Yeah, but Nestor Redondo, I think Kubert did the breakdowns. He did the cover, and you know they put Kubert on covers because Kubert sold comics. Yeah. Look at some of the commandees later. Like, not only after Kirby left, but toward the end, when he was trying to crank it out, Kubert was doing the covers, and I don't want to say Nestor Redondo did. I can't remember. It was another Filipino artist who did the insides, and there was somebody who looked like they were doing an impression of Joe Kubert on one of the later Commandos.
Yeah. Huh. That's true. There was Kubert did some covers of Commandy. I don't think he did the interiors. You're right.
No.
Yeah. Whoa. I got flagged for making a comment on I got a flag for making a comment on Facebook for being mean to somebody.
I
Fuck
did too.
You, Facebook.
I did that last week,
Holy
and
shit.
I don't know what it was, but I know where it was.
Fuck off, Facebook. Take me off of there, then, you bitches. Fuck you.
Who needs Facebook?
Oh my God. Screw off. Some guy got pissed at a joke I made about some certain movie that's out right now, and acted like a pussweed on my channel. They had nothing, I said, never mind. I'm not gonna go into it. What a bitch. Screw you.
Wow. Pussweeds will be pussweeds.
Yeah. Tom DeFalco, get out of here, Patrick. Tom DeFalco probably would never get in, buddy. Oh shit. So yes, that is our final inductee for tonight for the first chapter of the Clobberin Times Mark C. Comic Strip Creator Hall of Fame. It's a mouthful, folks, but Mark C. is worth it. So, and he would have loved this. He would have loved just talking all the stuff about these comics artists. He really did love them. So we've dedicated to him. It's always Monday Night Mark C. In a few months, I'll do the second batch. But again, the rundown of that list for anyone who missed it. Hey, Roy Thomas will get in there. Don't worry about that, Phantom Outsider. Running down the list again for those who missed it is of course the great Jack Kirby, King of Comics, is the king. The other 9 in this pantheon of 10, of course, the great Alex Raymond, the great Gil Kane, the great Steve Ditko, the great Will Eisner, the great Jerry Siegel, the great Joe Shuster, the great Middlefinger, the great Julius Schwartz, and the great Joe Kubert. And yes, we love comic books. Most of these guys are artists, of course. Some of them are, we stuck a writer in there. We got some writers and editors in there as well. If they worked in comics, And
every one of these people is now universally regarded as masters of their form, even though there was a time when their own contemporaries treated them like dirt.
Yes.
Or disregarded them.
That is absolutely right. Yeah, it's a damn shame too. But yes, again, yeah. Thanks for all the M's there for the great Mark C. Everyone. Well, do we have any final remarks from the chat? Any questions or anything? Before we get moving out of here, because we've kept you fine people here for 2 hours. Let's see. Here's one. Chris Persia. Clobby, do you realize somewhere up there Mark is laughing right now because you said Mark C is a mouthful? He would laugh at that. He would laugh. You got me there, Chris.
That's what you said.
Jesus McKean, do you really want me to name them again, or were you just kidding, bud? Hey, Mark D with a C, thank you, man. You learned something? Well, hey, no, you didn't learn anything important. But thank you. I learned stuff from Phantom Outsider, man. Matter of fact, I think he should be doing the show instead of me, to be honest.
And hey, the name is Minimus.
Yeah, it's Minimus Prime. You forgot got your old name back in this one. Thanks for the great Jobber.
Was that you or him that named me? Because
I named you. It was before Jobber showed up, and he always called you Minimus, aka Minimus Prime.
Yeah.
But yeah, but yes, it is. Oh, don't worry about Bill Everett's going to be in the next batch. Spoiler alert. Oh, dude, I love Bill Everett. Come on, man. I love him.
Think about it, though. He would get on a plane, fly over here, knock on your door, go inside, and short sheet your damn bed just because it was worth it.
That's true. Look, the sheets are already short, bro. Sorry. You don't want to hear about my sheets, though.
Nobody does.
Nobody does. I don't even like them. I try not to think about my sheets. I don't even look at them, dude. That's how bad they are. Anyway. All right. Well, let's see here. Wednesday night, Open Geek Foolishness. I don't know. Oh, Purple, thank you so much. Thursday, the Global Geek Gang and I will be talking about, among other things, we'll be talking about Green Lantern, the history of Green Lantern. That will be 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. And again, Saturday night Star Trek with the wonderful Raquel Briggs. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight, including the beautiful Purple Valkyrie. I love you, Purple. Thank you so much. I know it is late over there, my dear. I don't know why you're awake, but I'm glad you are because it always makes me feel better that you're here. Thank you. Mark the Infinitely Tired. Hey, bro. Appreciate you, man. I know you know, so I'd love to talk. We need to talk comics again one of these days, dude. Apollomies Minion. I'm still with us, my dear. I'm so glad to see you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Jesus is my King 68. A good friend of the show. We appreciate you, brother. Oh, well, we appreciate that, Apollomy. Thank you so much. The great Chris Persia. Thank you, my good friend. And thank you, the great Eric K, buddy. I appreciate you. And also a big thanks, of course, to my great buddy Maddie's daddy, Steve. Hey, man. The extraordinary Phantom Outsider. Dude, again, a great name. Love the name. And you are a spiffing bloke, and I would love to talk comics with you sometime. You put me to shame with my old stupid memory where I forget stuff. But I may have to put you as my official ombudsman to correct me on shit like you do, because I forget stuff and I get things jumbled around. And you apparently are young and strong of mind and body, so you can handle it. Thanks, Clobberin Times. Thanks, Flawed. Oh, shit. Let's see here. Rod Thunderheart. Appreciate you, buddy. I know earlier we had our good buddy, the great Dr. Hercule Monkey was here. Dr. Hercule Monkey. Love that name, brother. And we always appreciate you. Hey, thank you. Watch this face with whatnot. I appreciate you, man. Great show. Great choices for the inaugural inductees. I appreciate, dude. Again, I didn't think anyone would be interested in this show, so I hope you had a little fun because I know this is a lot of crap that a lot of people don't get into as far as old comic book history and boring crap like that. But I love it. We love it. And we love these people, and they should always be applauded. And of course, the great Latino slant was here, my good buddy Paulie. Paulie, appreciate you popping in, bro. I know you're busy and working. Tomorrow night, after the comic book roundtable that I will be on, he will be doing a show a little after that I want to definitely hang out with him on that. Celebrating 1,000 subs. He's the man. He's got a great channel. He's a good buddy. One of my probably the first buddy I made on YouTube when I moved over here back in last April. Pat S., my good friend. Thank you, sir, for being here. Trying to remember everybody who was here. It's kind of tough. Jobber was here earlier. Jobber, you're the man, buddy. Alex James was here. Thank you, sir. Mark D with a C, a great friend of the channel, man. We love you, buddy. And, of course, the great Lord Thoth. Hey, man. Always a pleasure, sir. Avon Lives and LLL. I backtracked as much as I could to see, who all was here. So, because I don't want to miss anyone, and want to thank Minimus. This would not have been the same without somebody that knows what he knows and hang out with for doing something like this. And now, of course, that means you're obligated to do the other ones I do on the Hall of Fame. You don't have a choice.
I think we need to bring. I think we need to bring somebody more knowledgeable than me because I fucked up a lot.
No, you didn't. I mean, the great Mark C's looking down on us. He would have been great to have here, but I think without you, I would have forgot all kind of stuff. And you know all the stuff as much. You know this stuff better than I do. So everyone does.
We gotta find some way to rope the Phantom Outsider into coming in one day.
Yeah, look, Phantom Outsider, dude. I don't know because if you are like the Phantom Stranger or the Outsider, I don't know if you do public appearances, but would love to get you on sometime to talk comics history. You know your stuff. So again, thank you all so much. Hey, Thoth, I know Thoth knows the stuff too. So anytime you ever want to talk the stuff that goes away, Thoth, I hope you'll be here for the Global Geek Gang Thursday if you're able, with my buddies Jed and Ash and Retro Dicky and whoever else we can get to join us. So.
One of the bravest names in podcasting.
Thank you,
Retro
Purple.
Dicky.
Retro Dicky is a great dude. Yes, it's a great name. Oh, Purple, thank you so much. We try. One of us is senile, and it is me. But maybe both of us. I don't know.
Could be.
So, all right, everyone. I want to thank you again. I'd hang longer, but I've kept you all way past everybody's bedtimes. So have a fantastic night. I look forward to talking to you all again soon. And I'm going to play us out with the great Stone Loki Monday Night Mark C intro. Good night, everyone, and have a pleasant tomorrow.